Hello and most welcome to 2010 of the H series. We will today continue with the article of Hao Tang, Bodily self-knowledge as a special form of perception. 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 Last time in 2006, we spoke a little bit about the posture, that the sensation of posture has no content. It is pretty close to having the before of the collapse of the superposition, or the posture or the soul, including the material world in their pre-state, being the superposition, being it all. It's the joiner of everything. In there, you find the clue to all things pertinent for human beings. And how these things constitute, I'd say, the human soul and intention. By how we intend, we will collapse the world in a particular way. And I think once more we need the law of the excluded middle. Otherwise, one commentary would be, if we all collapse it our way, then we will all live in different worlds. Only the law of the collective, law of the excluded middle's downfall can save us from that. This is why posture is nil and zero. It doesn't have a content. All content, space and time come in as secondary qualities. Space, time, ruggedness, length, width, breadth. I like that. Length, breadth, width. Pronounce that quickly. See the posture as a malleable thing, something that could be shaped to your advantage. And I would also like to add Ian McGilchrist's view of the right hemisphere as the potentiality bringer. Nothing here is definite. All is still open to suggestion and open to a collapse. Still, at this moment, that potential openness would be a potentiality for us all. It has no content. It's a zero. I'd like to call it the zero, and nothing that opens up for everything. No limitation whatsoever. It's a grandest eternity without limits. The zero is limitless. All can here enter. We need not worry about any limitations. I will start reading again after the quote from Anscombe. And this is regarding the quote, what she wrote. By substance here, she basically means material body. Material body, material body. Cabin echoes.
Yummy, yummy, material body.
Material body. Now proprioceptive sensations, at least in the normal course of life, are very elusive. We do sometimes say, for instance, I feel my knees are bent, or I feel my feet. Limb presence, limb presence. But such feels seems to be extremely thin or even non-existent. They also seem too smooth or characterless to allow any qualitative grip. Any qualitative grip. This is difficult. Doubts can arise about the very existence of proprioceptive sensations. But let us suppress the doubts for now and ask. If there are proprioceptive sensations, how should we characterize them? These seemingly characterless sensations. Anscombe is helpful here. Anscombe is helpful here. Helpful. She gives help. Listening. Helpful. What do you say, Eddie Murphy? Is she helpful? She says that normally the sensations are not separately describable. That is, normally proprioceptive sensations can be described only in terms of what they enable us to know. To know. Only in terms of the presence, position, and movement of our limbs. Our limbs. For instance, normally one can only describe the postural sensation one gets when one has one's legs crossed in terms of the sensation of crossed legs. Crossed legs, why? Why? A good way to illuminate this peculiar, inseparable character of proprioceptive sensations is to contrast them with sensations involved in the external senses, for instance, in vision. Suppose a tourist on a boat suddenly spots a crocodile in the water.
Oh
dear! Oh dear, what should we do? What should we do?
food, yummy, yummy.
Crunch, crunch. Dangerous. Her visual sensation can be described in terms of crocodile in water. But it is also describable in independent terms, such as something brown and elongated against a blue background, against a blue background. But in the case of proprioceptive sensations, normally no such independent description is available. Language gives out here very quickly. Very quickly. This contrast is starker in cases of mistake or deception. Of deception, oh no, do not deceive. Suppose after the tourist exclaims, crocodile.
Ai, yummy crocodile.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Crocodile for supper. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yummy, yummy. The tour guide calmly explains that it is not a crocodile, but just a piece of dead log. Ouch.
Dead log. Dead
Ouch, ouch.
log.
No crocodile for supper. The tourist takes a second look and is relieved. What did she see at first? She can no longer say, as she in effect did, that she saw a crocodile. A crocodile! She can no longer say that she in effect did, that she saw a crocodile. But she can still say, in retreat, that she saw something brown and elongated. And she can offer this as an answer if asked. Why did you think that there was a crocodile? Why did you think that there was a crocodile?
We're hungry. Yummy, yummy.
Oh dear! By contrast, there is no room for retreat in proprioception. Suppose a neurologist is studying how someone is recovering from lower body anesthesia and quizzes him. Are your legs bent? The man, without looking, answers, yes. He is then brought to see, to his astonishment, that his legs are in fact straight. But if he is now asked, why did you think your legs were bent? He has no analogous place to retreat to. No place whatsoever. He can only answer, well, it felt so. Or I felt that way. Whether so or that way is precisely my legs were bent, not some independent description. Independent description. To sum up, proprioceptive sensations are in separable. Normally, they cannot be described in terms other than the presence and position and movement of one's own limbs. Own limbs! Own limbs! Sorry. In particular, they cannot be described in terms of secondary qualities and are in this sense contentless.
Oh, this.
They have no content whatsoever. Five, the content of proprioceptive sensations, body spatial. If proprioceptive sensations have no content in that sense, what about the content they do have? The content described in terms of limb presence, position, and movement. For instance, the content of the feeling that my left arm is straight. Nothing here is straight. Not in my body. It's all crooked. This content is, above all, spatial. It is obvious that the contents of both left and straight are spatial. Because an arm is a material object that occupies physical space. More importantly, the kind of spatial content at issue is correlated with a distinctive kind of space. It is not the space that we speak of in astronomy, in civil engineering, or in much of daily life. For instance, walking to the park. In all these kinds of spatial discourse, space is external to one's bodily self. By contrast, one's arm is internal to one's bodily self. In a very demanding sense of internal. The totality of which it is a part. My whole body are spatially extended objects and not known to be such from within. Such from within. This combination of interiority and spatiality, which is traditionally tied to exteriority, is distinctive of body space. It is the connection between inner and outer. Once more, the Klein bottle. The Klein bottle. It has protruded. Oh dear.
Klein bottle with pina colada, yummy yummy.
Yeah.
Yummy, 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 yummy.
Fill it up. Very good. The contrast between external and internal space receives elaborate and deep treatment by O'Shaughnessy. The fundamental point I want to draw from him is the following. Is the following. The following.
Is the following.
Is the following, which is also a TV series they used to be on television. The following. Proprioceptive sensations, like other bodily sensations such as pains, are necessarily set upon the scheme of one's body image. Which in the favorable case is identical to the scheme of one's body space. One's body space.
One's body space.
Body space. In other words, the basic given here is not a collection of naked sensations of feelings, but a rich unitary whole, a whole. sensation in a limb positioned in body space. In body space are disclosed along with and via each other. Or to put it in Frege's term, the modes of givenness are the same. This sameness is what makes the sensation inseparable. Inseparable. Inseparable.
Comparable.
Inseparable. 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 Six, the existence of proprioceptive sensations. Anscombe. But are proprioceptive sensations actually given? Actually given. Actually. In answering this question, let us focus on the most important, because most basic context, namely the functioning of proprioception in the normal course of our daily life. Anscombe sometimes casts doubts on the existence of proprioceptive sensations, or on the sense in which these sensations are sensations at all. I shall focus on her argument against a strong reason for thinking that there actually are proprioceptive sensations. Actually are proprioceptive sensations. It may happen, though this is extremely rare, that one is mistaken about whether one's leg is stretched out, or that one would then say, it felt just as if I had the sensation of. This, Anscombe says, helps one to think that there is a sensation corresponding to the visual impression of a blue expanse. which is the datum in judging one's position, and which on occasion occurs without the position. So it is supposed that the sensations of giving a reflex kick must in principle be describable in other terms. In other terms. In other terms. In other terms. What do you think about that, Eddie Murphy? In other terms.
Other terms.
I have quoted her characterization of her target of criticism, but omitted the criticism itself. This is because while her criticism is effective, her identification of the target betrays a blind spot. A blind spot. Oh no. Her target is the view that 1. The existence of proprioceptive sensations is thrown into relief when mistakes occur. And 2, these sensations are like sensations of the external senses in that they have their own intrinsic qualities, which are to be described in other terms, namely in terms of secondary qualities that are analogous to, corresponding to, secondary qualities in the external senses. For instance, blue in vision, blue in vision. But this misses the possibility that proprioceptive sensations may not involve any secondary qualities at all, but are rather to be described in terms of primary qualities.
Primary.
Primary. Primary. Primary. Primary. Hide, Emilia. Primary.
Primary.
Orea.
Fantastic.
Very good. 7. The existence and role of proprioceptive sensations. McDowell. This possibility is in effect ruled out by McDowell. By McDowell. McDowell. Where is he? McDowell. After making various arguments, he concludes that our natural idiom of having sensation in a limb is best understood as not saying that one is actually feeling sensations in it, but as acknowledging that one is susceptible to sensations. Sensations! That is, he denies the actuality of proprioceptive sensations and retreats to a potentiality. This denial makes proprioception anesthetic. Anesthetic.
Uts.
Anesthetic. On this matter, McDowell is at odds with O'Shaughnessy, who holds that there are actually proprioceptive sensations, though they are extremely recessive. Extremely recessive.
Recessive. Oh.
Extremely recessive. It is important to note that this is not a dispute in subtle phenomenology regarding whether proprioceptive sensations are, 1, existent, but extremely recessive, or 2, non-existent. Rather, much deeper issues are involved. Here, much deeper issues are here.
Much deeper issues.
Orea.
Such a deep issue. Mm.
Definitely. It goes much deeper. it is time to examine McDowell's reasons for thinking that proprioception is not perceptual. I shall examine two, one general and one specific. One specific. We have seen his general reason. That proprioception is a species of self-knowledge, rules out the possibility that it is perceptual. 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 What? Is it perceptual? Because in perception knowledge, or more broadly in receptive knowledge, the subject must be affected by the object of knowledge, which usually requires that the object is distinct from the subject. If these are not distinct, receptive knowledge requires that one is known to oneself as other, as other. But this last requirement, which effectively rules out the idea of receptive self-knowledge as incoherent, calls for justification. McDowell gives none, apparently taking it to be inherent in the very idea of receptive knowledge. Of receptive knowledge. But is the idea of self-receptive self-knowledge really incoherent? Really incoherent? Is it really incoherent? I wonder.
Yumi.
Incoherent. Here, it is relevant to consider another point made by McDowell about knowledge of one's sensations. One's sensations. His aim in making this point is to help break resistance to the idea that proprioceptive knowledge is neither practical nor receptive, nor receptive. This third possibility should not be shocking, for it is already realized in knowledge of one's own sensations. This knowledge is obviously not practical. Not practical. Not practical. But it is not receptive either. Oh dear. The law of the excluded middle. One might think it is, on the ground that sensations are involuntary and we only passively suffer them. But while suffering sensation is indeed a mode of receptivity, knowing that one has sensation is not. This is because feeling a sensation is not a reality separate from knowing that one feels it, a reality that makes itself known by affecting the subject. There's affection of the senses in feeling the sensation, but there is not an extra affection in being aware that one feels it. This is subtle and important. McDowell makes the same point in different terms elsewhere. One sensation is the internal accusative of one's awareness. Accusative, taking an object. It has no existence independently of awareness. And I take that back. In this respect, sensations differ sharply from objects. That one can also be said, but in a very different sense, to feel. For instance, coins in a pocket. We can mark the difference by saying that objects of the first kind of feeling are internal objects, and those of the second kind of feeling are external objects, objects whose existence is independent of the feeling, of the feeling, of the feeling, elare, feeling, feeling. Can you feel, my friends? Now, McDowell's point about knowledge of one's sensations does show that there is a third kind of knowledge, neither practical nor receptive. But it does not show, and is not taken by him to show, that proprioceptive knowledge belongs to this third category. The third category. This claim rests rather on the conceptions of self-knowledge and receptive knowledge, which together rule out the notion of receptive self-knowledge as incoherent. He gives no further reason for this ruling. And there I'll put a point to 2010.
Page 80. Page
Page
80.
80.
Rolling.
Ruling. I put a little pause here. So as you see on the screen here, I'll argue for that the body is the liminal zone. It is the difference between the inside and the outside. It can be compared effectively to a coastline. And in this liminal zone, this is the reason why it's called a nothing. The posture, the bodily feel is a nothing. Because normally with something, it's either on the outside or the body seen from a third person perspective. Then it becomes material. But in this case, the word something cannot be used in the regular philosophical argument or jargon. So I see it as a liminal zone. A liminal zone, the difference between the inside and the outside, also carries the movement. You see? Bring in the movement, and this moving body becomes incredibly complex. Therein, amongst others, lies proprioception. to know yourself properly. My suggestion here is, and more than welcome to argue, this liminal zone is the same as the superposition. It is, so to speak, the before, not before in the temporal or spatial aspect, because this is before both time and space. It is the strict before and the underlying foundation for all existence. I think in this liminal zone, the right hemisphere, according to Ian McGilchrist, was also the brain hemisphere that has access, because in a way it contains both inside and outside. The third aspect I want to take a little gander at, it is neither inside nor outside. It becomes confusing if we regard the law of the excluded middle for granted, and it leads to horrible confusions about the body if it falls under that either or. In that either or, the body becomes just matter, if seen from a third person perspective, or just senses in a sort of uninteresting way. I mean, on the contrary, the body starts everything. Remember Couples-Blakesley. They showed that we all have a body map which largely extends beyond what one could call the physical body, and does not equal it, no, not in a perceptual way, receptive way, pain way. Remember the guy who got a nail between his toes and died of pain, almost died of pain. Nothing penetrated even his skin, but the pain was immense because it entered into the extended liminal zone. That is where all the action takes place. And of course, it's a nothing in the perspective of it is actually before concepts. I put a little pause here and I'll start again. I pause.